Welcome, Sara. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Great, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
So the stage is all yours. Good luck.
Great, thank you. So good morning, everyone. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. Hello from Canada. Actually, it's a deep fall, but we're actually having a very summery day here today and enjoying this lovely weather. So as mentioned in my introduction, I'm from OCAD University. It's located in Toronto. I'm an associate professor there in the Faculty of Design. And like all my colleagues, we have practices, whether it's research-based, or professionally based, and I do both, and that spans my work with a company I founded several years ago called Trickle Up Design. So let's talk a little bit about OCAD University. That's us, that's our box on stilts, some people say on crayons, that hovers above the older building. We're Canada's largest and most comprehensive art, design, and media university. We were founded in 1876, and if anyone's been to Toronto or seen images of it, where you can see the CN Tower, that's famous part of our skyline can be seen from our university campus. Like many universities around the world, but particularly in Canada and Toronto, we're completely remote right now during the pandemic. So this format and Zoom and other online formats are becoming the way that we're teaching. And I'll talk a little bit about that and how that ties into the social innovation curriculum at OCAD. So I'm going to talk today about the role of social impact in design education. I feel it's a fundamental part of design education now, and especially looking forward. And it's tied into the roots of OCAD's mission around, tying to the human condition, and specifically to the Faculty of Design's work on respectful design. So this is the landing page for the Social Innovation Design program at OCAD University. So it is a pathway of courses. It doesn't sit within a particular program. These courses were started in 2007. It came from doing work and teaching a lot of socially innovative related courses and seeing the interest among students who are really trying to navigate their education in their home programs or disciplines, and wanted to engage with more kind of these types of programs. So trying to find a way curricularly where they could tie all these experiences together and have it become an important backbone of their education at OCAD. The courses can be taken individually or consecutively. They're all electives, but they do count towards the minor program that we have at OCAD called Entrepreneurship and Social Innovation minor. And it's been a successful minor. The courses are full, and even though they're electives, they're popular courses. And I think one of the really interesting indicators of success are the number of students who come through the courses that are in this pathway and in the minor, and their work in their final year and their thesis year has really been, you can see the impact of how they're really thinking about whether they're environmental design student, a graphic design student, illustrator, or someone from an art discipline, are bringing in sort of social impact into their work, and which is a culmination of their 4 years at OCAD. I mentioned that the social innovation design is really rooted in this idea of respectful design, which is the underpinning of the Faculty of Design. And it really stems from this mission to focus on the broader impact of design on society, and specifically that, and this comes from our dean, Dory Tunstall, in the Faculty of Design, the working kind of definition of of respectful design is, creation of preferred courses of action based on the intrinsic worth of all human, animal, mineral, fauna, and flora, and the treatment of them with dignity and regard. And those are really big ideals. We like to think about how we bring those into the classroom in very tangible ways. And I'll talk about some of the ways in a little bit about how we're bringing them into the courses. But some ways that respectful design is brought into the courses at OCAD is very much valuing different cultures and ways of knowing and making. We're embedding Indigenous learning and principles into the design process. This is part of an ongoing commitment to decolonializing the curriculum. It's acknowledging Indigenous lands and our relationships to the land. And it's designing with empathy and responsibility towards everyone and everything. And so in the social innovation courses, each of them are really pulling from these ideas again and bringing them in to the classroom and outside of the classroom in ways that students can really understand what does that mean when they're engaging with all the design tools. So I think one of the important things that is critical to the creation of these courses and how they fit together is really systems thinking and systems design. It's encouraging students to be able to think about things and their interconnections. I think gone is the time when we're teaching designers who are just thinking about function or just thinking about aesthetics. Those two things are important. But we know that's part of something much bigger and broader, and that we're seeing that helping students to really be a systems thinker, in moving away from linear systems and linear models to thinking about things in circular, whether we're talking about circular economies, whether we're looking at the food system as an example, something that we're focusing on this fall, particularly the impacts of COVID on the food system, to this how they're doing their analysis and research, and that it is really looking at synthesis, pulling ideas from a lot of different places and trying to make sense of that and bring it at eye level and understanding how it relates to their practice in their studios, but also their own personal and professional experience up to this point. And we're also focusing on sustainable design. So the interconnections between the cultural, social, environmental, and financial impact from the beginning to the end, and hopefully back again in a circular model of the work that they're doing, again, and how it ties into the bigger systems at work. And I think it's helping students understand how it all ties into, again, what things that they're seeing in the headlines and the experiences that they're having outside the classroom. And again, that place in the middle is really where we're trying to help students find those robust solutions right in the center. So one of the things that we help students to understand is design is everything, and everything is connected. And I remember as a designer, when I was, a student, and that was sort of a powerful example for me, was understanding everything is design. So some of the things that were the most complex, wicked problems were then, it meant that there was a power for to undesign, to redesign or undesign things. And so I think bringing that in to the classroom, and that means that everything is up for grabs. Everything can be rethought, and let's not take anything for granted as being immutable, too complicated, not our job as designers, but actually everything is in the realm of possibility design. But it's really about then how you approach that. Really talking about, if design is everywhere, then we must design accordingly with our eyes wide open and hearts open. And I think something is that we often don't talk about a lot in design and education is our hearts. And I think that there is a movement of more people realizing that we need to create more heart-centered the way designs and the way that we teach design, and not being afraid that is something that is, it makes us less serious as designers, or entrepreneurs, or thought leaders and thinkers, but it's recognizing opportunity. It's seeing the role of design in a lot of different places, and seeing how that the role of design isn't just in the designer, but also with the community stakeholders that we're working with, and coming into the design process again with respect and a commitment to justice and to equity. So one of the things that is exciting about the work that we're doing at OCAD and the kind of learning experience that students have within this social innovation design pathway is that they're working across disciplines. So, I mean, I'm really lucky to work at OCAD where there are many colleagues in courses that are talking about the social impact of design and art. That the courses aren't unique in that way, but it is unique in the sense that the structure allows students from all across the school to be in these courses and work together in team-based work. And I think consistently comments I hear from students are how much they learn from each other through this process, that they're not only picking up new skills through the courses and seeing how it connects to their work they're doing in their home discipline, in their home studios, but also that they're learning skills from their peers. They're really understanding how different disciplines approach a challenge, how they communicate, again, their tool sets. And I think seeing the power of working across disciplines to get so much more done than if they were just working independently or only working with people within their discipline. So I've been really privileged to work on a number of projects with students who were hailing from all the different programs, and have been blown away by the creativity and the work. And when I would set a brief or start to create a framework for engaging in a community, could never underestimate, it seemed, possibilities of what we could work on. And it was always amazing to see when you bring students together from all these different disciplines, that the solutions that come forth are much more in depth and have breadth than I could even expected. And I think that's just an exciting part of being an educator and working in students in this capacity. Another, important focus is teamwork and collaboration. It is the future of design. It's the future of all work, even if that teamwork and collaboration now is happening online, and we're trying to, I think, waiting for the technology to sort of catch up with some of the things that we need to replace the in-person ability to do the teamwork and collaboration. It's so important. But we're still doing it, and I think we're going to get there. And even when we go back to whatever the new normal is, this ability to work both digitally and in person, I think will be another part of our tool set as designers and thinkers. Students also delve into materials research and iterative prototyping. This is just an image from one student project in second year. We're really starting to in a course called Think Tank, where we're getting students to think about the social impact and how it connects to some of the skills that they're building as second year students. So one of the multidisciplinary teams that was working together was looking at music festivals, like the Glastonbury Festival. It's huge, and this is an image of the huge amount of waste that happens. The people buy sleeping bags and tents, and then they just leave them. And it's up to usually the organizers just have to get dumpsters and dumpsters full of this material. So students were working on an upcycling project. They needed to find, they were identifying materials that could be used to upcycle into other products that would again have increased value than just going further down the waste chain, and also taking it out of the waste stream. And so, they imagined a festival where that could be used from materials that were found in the waste stream at the festivals at the end, and working together on prototyping. So this was one of the prototypes they came up with, to imagining packaging and labeling. So again, delving into both the materials, understanding and research, but also you have maybe an industrial design student that's working with a graphic design student that's working with an illustrator, and together they're working on a multitude of deliverables to tell the whole story and to really come up with a robust solution. Another important aspect of these courses is really tying them to project and budget management, that while having really lofty ideals and wanting to make it designs that have maximized social impact, that also looking at real world constraints at times, and understanding how do you actually implement this? How do you actually make it work? I showed you the, trying to find that place within the sustainability model. And one of them is financial sustainability, and that with designers, we need to be aware that, we are working within a world of where there are monetary constraints, but how can we not have them just be a barrier, but how can we be resourceful and use that as something to, a budget to push against, and say, how can we maximize this? How can we be creative in the models that we're using to actually implement these things? So those are some tangible ways of trying to build real hard skills along with soft skills to help students understand how can you actually implement this. And it goes beyond just a student, a class project, but these are skills that they can use in their professional lives after they graduate from OCAD. And again, communication and presentation of ideas are so important. And I'll talk a little bit about this later in one of the examples, but especially the communication to people who are not designers. So students present a lot at OCAD. Our critiques are, a basis of the educational model and our studio-based education at OCAD. But I think one thing that is different for students who are coming through the social innovation design pathway is that they're often working with community-based stakeholders. So it's learning to communicate to people outside of the university, people who are not designers, who may not be visual thinkers, like they're used to talking to other designers, other artists, and how to take a complex challenge that they're working on, making things understandable, making their approach, documenting the work that they're doing to tell the full story, and how important that is as a tool of designers. It's not just the work we're doing, but it's how we communicate it. And students are really building those skills through the courses in this pathway. So as I mentioned a few times, is that a core to the education that the students are receiving at OCAD through the social innovation design pathway are engaging in community-based projects. So there are two courses where that is really fundamental. One is it's called the participatory design course, and it's actually running right now in the fall. And typically every year, the students will work with a community-based organization in Toronto. And in semester long, they're working with community-based stakeholders. So we've worked with community organizations. One was working on creating an arts hub out of an old industrial building. They worked with a community group to help to visualize one of the spaces that they wanted to have open. They called it the community living room, where they wanted to have it open very much to the local residents. The students helped to visualize what that space could look like. Students last year, we worked with a community organization, and they have a project where they are using containers, shipping containers, and have turned them into small vending spaces and making them the rent affordable to new entrepreneurs who are starting mostly food-based businesses, and students work with them. And the one project I'll show you here is 2 years ago, we worked with an organization called Sketch, and Sketch works with marginalized youth, those who are living at or near poverty and often are facing homelessness. And they use the arts as a way of transformational, helping youth see the transformational power of the arts, and helping to build leadership skills, entrepreneurial skills, creativity through the arts. So this is a great collaboration where students from my course work with stakeholders in the community. So they worked with both some of the youth who are engaged in this project, and also the staff. And this is an image of them doing it. This was a part of their generative toolkit that they came up with. This group of students were working on a kiosk that could be used as part of Sketch's entrepreneurship program, where they were encouraging and helping to build the skills for their youth to be able to create work and sell it as a way of, again, building entrepreneurial skills, but also making income. And So there was a need to have some kind of setup that would allow Sketch to go out and showcase this, the youth's work. So this is an example of both teamwork and iterative prototyping, of really engaging in co-design. So they came up with different things. They're moving different parts around, doing role play through the use of this prototype, and again, the staff and youth who are directly involved, getting their feedback and making changes to the ultimate prototype that came from it. They were also looking at the space in this project of helping with the wayfinding of an annual market that Sketch has, where they're showcasing the student work and the programming there. The students are, building models. They're using them as a generative prop to help, again, engage their co-designers very much in the design process. And they help with establishing a brand, a sub-brand within Sketch that would help with the youth to brand their own work and then build their brands within the larger Sketch brand as an organization. And so they came up with they were really, again, moving away from a client designer model and learning to engage the stakeholders directly in the design process, in this case of kind of branding and storytelling of this emerging part of the organization. So just some images from that here. And the end result was part of Design TO, which is our design festival that happens in January. And it was a great opportunity to exhibit the collaborative work between the students and the Sketch youth and the staff. It was, again, it exemplifies a lot of different pieces of the pathway. And again, that it's the focus on teamwork, working across disciplines, engaging respectfully and with empathy, and understanding that as designers, we're not coming in as the experts, we're designing with, and we're bringing a certain set of skills, but we're very much learning from the experts in the community. In this case, there were the youth and the people who are working directly with the youth in this really great organization. It's an important part of the fabric of Toronto. Just again, some more of the sort of final images that came of the deliverables that came out of that collaborative work. Another example of a course that is part of the social innovation design pathway at OCAD is called Design Abroad. And this course was started in 2013, and I've had the pleasure of bringing 57 students to India and to Costa Rica since that time too. And again, there's students from undergraduate design and art students. I've had students from almost every program at OCAD who have been part of this. It is an elective, and where they're traveling for 3 weeks abroad and engaging in community-based participatory design projects, and really focusing on systems change and thinking about things and really trying to understand as much as possible the context, and very much designing with community who have the expertise. And the students are learning along with the stakeholders in the community. And we're fortunate to have had these communities really open and engaged and giving their time and ideas to part of these projects, with the goal that then they have ownership of the project, and we're helping them to think about how to implement it and take next steps towards a challenge that's been defined by them. So these images are actually from the last project that ran in 2019. Ideally would have been running again, it runs every other year this spring because of COVID. Unfortunately, it's not possible, but we're hoping that once we're able to travel safely, that we'll be doing another Design Abroad program soon. So these are images from a project that was in Costa Rica. We worked with a small informal community called El Cocal, which is near Capos, in Costa Rica, and it's a beautiful, beautiful community. And they really were interested in bringing more of the tourists who come to just on the other side of where their community is, to bring some of those over there to enjoy the beautiful beaches. But one of the things is they're lacking infrastructure. There's no garbage pickup, and so the waste, household waste, is an issue there. So we engaged with an organization that has been working in this community for a long time, that already had established relationships. And we engaged with key stakeholders there. People have already been involved with a lot of different organizing of events and initiatives in the community. to imagine what a community-based waste management program could look like. So we had students that were environmental design students, industrial design, graphic design, illustration students. 16 in all were part of this course that worked together to help the community visualize and plan for what it could look like if it was a community-based approach to dealing with the waste in their community. So through, as you can see, several consultations along with fun with one of the kids and other community members. We got to be there during the kite festival that happens there, engaged with some of the kids that are in some of the after school programming that was part of the organization we were working with. We had a lot of really great access, and the students were helping to visualize what a door-to-door waste management system could look like that could be completely run by the community through a resident association. They did some mapping to understand, first of all, how could a pickup system work? Was it feasible? These are just some of the outputs, and through the mapping process of the land, we were having to sort of work off of Google Maps. Quite a lot of students were really resourceful and kind of putting together using technology and on the ground observation and mapping to really understand the community in terms of geographically, its size, and demographics, and really developing a whole system where this was not only feasible, but could actually create economic empowerment opportunities and training opportunities for people in the community. So this is a prototype of a calendar for picking up daily, a weekly garbage pickup in various districts that we identify through the mapping process. There was also through this, students were recognizing that there was a need for really helping to define the community because it's an informal community. So there was a whole storytelling of what the community is about and creating an identity that was a part of the overall project. So this was part of the branding exercise that was included kids to adults and business owners, key stakeholders, to help develop an identity that represented the community and was part of the branding of this community-based waste management initiative. So overall, the goals of these courses are really helping students understand the power of design and helping them to create the change that they want to see in the world. And I think a lot of us would agree that we need it, that for them to start designing this way, because the world needs more designers, more thinkers, more people, entrepreneurs and social innovators who are thinking this way, thinking about things at a systems level. They're engaging with the community in a participatory manner and with respect and empathy. And we're seeing that the courses are continuing to evolve and adapt. And I think this since March is a perfect example, as we're all trying to evolve and adapt to the pandemic, is that the courses, I think students are even more tuned to wanting to understand how their design practice can have very tangible impacts on the systems failures that have become magnified by the pandemic. So whether we're looking at the food system, whether we're looking at the food system, we're looking at long-term health, we're looking at housing and homelessness, looking at wage inequity and all the other systemic barriers around race, gender, sexual orientation. Students are really engaged, I think, even more and more, and that's really exciting for the future of these courses and how they can continue and expand and help students augment, again, the work that they're doing in their home studios and their core disciplines. And so ultimately, the goal is really design that's rooted in equity, cooperation, and love, and bringing those things in, and not just as lofty goals that sit outside of the work that we do every day, but it's actually embedded in it and helping students to understand how they can build careers and really meaningful and successful design practices based on these concepts. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and it's a pleasure to be here and talking with people who are interested in design thinking, especially during this this time. We're all figuring out, and I think is also giving a silver lining about where we can go from here and how we can recreate and redesign systems, again, that are more equitable and more humane.
Yes. Thank you, Sara, for this wonderful presentation. So we know you need to go, so we will only read one question, okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
First in Spanish and then in English for you.
Thank you.
¿Cuáles son sus recomendaciones para mantener el entusiasmo y un clima colaborativo a través del teletrabajo? ¿De qué manera, en su experiencia, eso ha sido posible, entendiendo que para proyectos tan relevantes es fundamental? What are your recommendations for maintaining enthusiasm and collaborative climate through teleworking? In what way, in your experience, this has been possible, understanding that for such relevant projects, this is fundamental?
That is a very good question. And I wish I had all the answers to that. I think we're still figuring it out. I think what I've seen with the adjustments I've had to make with the courses for this fall. So normally the participatory design course we'd be out working with the community. Every other course we'd be out of the classroom. And because of social distancing, because I have students who are literally connecting from all over the world across different time zones, I've had to make things a lot more flexible. We are making all of our courses asynchronous so that students don't have to show up at a certain time. So given the flexibility, but also how do you feel like there's connection, and then how do you do participatory design? So one of the adjustments was having students engage with people who are kind of in their network and that they already have a connection to, and identifying a challenge that they could work together. And I found that there's a lot of really positive feedback that they're able to engage, even though it's still through Zoom, but they're figuring Zoom or Teams or Facebook. They're using different tools, like whether it's Miro or Asana for like project management and sharing images. I think the thing that is the way to keep them engaged is seeing this as part of the design challenge, that no matter whenever I've ever dealt with or engaged in participatory design, I'm usually in a community where I'm already having to be resourceful. I don't have everything at my fingertips. I don't have a 3D printer. I don't have, I can't print large format, whether I was in India, Costa Rica, or whatever work that I've done, or in the community. So I think it's kind of that this need to work remotely is an extension of being resourceful, and how do you meet people where they're at and engage meaningfully, and again, problem solve around it. So I feel students get that. They've been embracing it, and it's been really interesting to see how they're using different tools and engaging with their co-designers, and then bringing that back to the meetings that we have with their peers and in the projects that they're presenting. So I think I'm still learning from them too about how all the ways they're doing it. But overall, I'm seeing engagement because they're really interested in applying what they're doing to with someone who's a non-co-designer, and again, and seeing it as part of overall learning opportunity and their creative problem-solving ability. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
It's been a pleasure. It's great, and this is a really well-organized format, and I'm really glad to be part of it, and excited to see all the other outputs that people have been presenting over the last couple of days. Thank you.
Your presentation was wonderful.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a nice day.
Yes, you too. Take care. Everyone stay safe, and look forward to connect in other ways going forward.
Awesome.